I use the basic, warm and cools for front light, like everybody else does. As far as lighter neutral colors, I use two for key light or specials a lot. One is the Submissive Lavender, which is what they had. This looks great popping against like a very warm framing color. And then the other one, which is not too far away, is 3300, and this looks great popping out bodies against cool range of framing colors. And framing colors, what I like to call them, this is a great version. I mean, so many colors. This is 4400, by the way. So many colors look great with this, and it's not coming through with the fluorescence very well, but this is a great backlight color. I use it probably in all of my blue backs. And then this has been my favorite color for the longest time because my wife is a redhead. And this is great for when I do musicals. I put this in my back diagonals a lot, or the high side. It looks great against this color, and I don't know if I can put this guy in or not.
What number was that?
This one right here. This is, I can't remember, 7800 apricot orange. So it's an amber, but it looks like it has some, a little bit of the pink range in there too. It's great. So, if I can
There's something else. We have a disc back here. This is all of the scene paint colors from the off-Broadway line, the Roscoe Broadway line. Again, when you're testing your colors, it's great to have the scenery colors or swatches to work with. So we'll hold these up periodically so you can see how they deal with that.
But, I don't want to blind you guys, but you can see sort of the combination there. I mean, it's just a great combination, these two colors. So I use these all the time. Either they ask for my favorite colors. I never have a favorite color. It depends on the show what my favorite color is. So, but these are two colors that I use an awful lot. The blue 4400. Oh, and this is another color I love to use in high sides for musicals, and this is 8700. This looks great on African American skin tones. This is awesome, especially in the high side. It's a little bit more saturated than you want to use in your front light, but hey, try it out. What color is that? This one is 8700.
Okay. And next is Kevin.
I'm a bit of a contrarian. They said pick your favorite warm, cool, and neutral. I didn't because I can't.
Yeah.
A lot of my color training I really take back to Alan Nicolai. Most of you in this room have no idea who I'm talking about. For those few that do, you're really privileged. Nick was fearless, and I can't begin to tell you the number of pieces we were working on where we started out with a set of gel colors, and by 5 minutes into it, he'd replaced at least 3 of the 4 that we were working with in low-side shins. What I learned from that process was simply that it isn't a matter of what I like for a color, it's a matter of what the event likes for a color. And in my own design, even though I've been designing much longer than I care to admit at this point, well over 30 years, let's just put it that way, I still, every time I design, I try to pick a color I've never used before. At least one, preferably 2 or 3. And I will, the other thing that I would say, and this is part and parcel of picking a warm and a cool color for me, is you never really just look at what the color is, you look at what's inside the color. Because you've got warm colors that have a lot of green in them, you have cool colors that have a lot of red. Understanding what the layers of color within the color are is what gives you the key to the right color for the particular event that you're lighting. I do have a tendency to favor warm blues, but I also, at one point earlier on in my career, my wife turned to me once as we were finishing a show and said, "You do blue really well." And that was because I had 6 different kinds of blue on that particular show. And so by dealing with the thin blue or the lightly greened out blue or the very, very, very warm blue, we could push what blue looked like in about 5 or 6 different directions without really being obvious about it. And what it gave you was a great deal of depth within what was apparently a single color system. There was a question earlier about where do you use certain colors in terms of saturation. My rule of thumb, and this is really coming out of dance, is you consider how hard the light is going to hit the floor or how hard it's going to hit the scenery. Certain times you want it to, other times it's unintended, but there's no way around it. And I would say that if you've got a light that's driving into the floor pretty hard, you want a pretty saturated color because you don't want it to be about the floor. You want it to be about the figure within the space. If you've got an angle where it's going to be skimming the floor or it's because of the shot you have, it's not going to be that apparent, that's where you go with your lighter saturations, your thinner colors, so that you can create the idea of the central focus on the figure, but still allow the light that's surrounding the figure to then create the environment in which they are dancing. So that's kind of what you're talking about in terms of framing colors.
Right.
So a good rule of thumb is if you've got something that's going to be hitting the floor hard, you want to be more saturated.
Something that we try to stress is color testing. Test your colors. Get the swatches. Get an ellipsoidal. Throw some color, be it a Fresnel, whatever you have. If you don't even have a theater, this is a little light that Home Depot sells. It's called a slot back light. It's a little up light. The nice thing about it is it's an MR16, about the same color temperature as a regular stage light. It's got a dimmer on the line. And the really cool part is your swatch books, your swatch samples cover the lens pretty well. So you can get an idea. You can put this on your drafting table if anybody uses that anymore and do a little bit of color testing. But they're about $17.
It's their lighting table now.
Yes. Or in my case, my junk
Computer table.
So anyway, always color test. That's something that the more you know about the colors you plan to use before you get into the theater and you do your homework, the better off it's going to be for everybody. Okay, let's talk about some discussion. Yes?
Sorry, you said the color temperature of the MR16 pickup lamp is about the same as...
About the same, not as an HPL, but your standard, like your Fresnel, about 3,200 degrees. So it's not exactly, and the intensity obviously is going to be different, but it kind of gives you a pretty good idea of how it's going to react with, and then being able to dim it down and it starts to redden up or not. Yes?
Is there a big difference between testing it on that smaller light and then, say, going to a stage and having that same thing out on stage and then being like, I don't really like it on stage?
There's going to be a difference, obviously, because you're talking a huge difference in wattage, but you can get an idea of like, how's it going to react with skin tones. I mean, it's not the ideal is to take an ellipsoidal, but not all of us have that luxury or have that time. So if you're sitting at a hotel room, you can do your color testing there or that sort of thing.
And what this will let you do is do what I was talking about finding the color within the color. Yeah. You look at a couple of blues side by side on something like this, hitting the wall or hitting a white sheet that you've got or on your own skin. That's when you'll find this one's got a little bit of green in it, this one's got a little bit of red in it. So it's going to give you that insight to the color, even though the way it's going to function in the space is going to be a little bit different. You'll at least have a fighting chance of knowing what you can predict it's going to do.
Yeah, and I have a little desk lamp which has the same sort of lamp in there, and I just literally, like, my computer's right here. I'll literally check it out on my hand and see what's going on, and I rarely have to change a color, like when we go in there, because of that reason. There's other reasons I have to change color, but I never not like what I picked before. So.
Yes.
For those of you that are in education, before your slide projectors get taken away, you want to try and get those from surplus, because I've got 8 slide projectors with all of the colors in them that you can go through, and they are dimmable, yet to burn them completely out. And then you can color mix and go through the entire range by just flipping through.
It's a great idea.
That is cool, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and the old codecs run on an MR16 also, so you're going to be getting a similar color temperature to this, and it is if you split wire them, they won't burn out. Keep the fan on a constant.